Welcome back to the Dad's Flipping Houses podcast. I'm Jaron Sustar.
I'm Brandon Boatwright.
And I'm Matthew Hall.
And we're dads and we flip house.
Dad's Flipping Houses.
Hey, we just locked up another contract literally 20 minutes before we got in here. Bought it for $40,000, which is insane. And the fact that you can find a dwelling that is in good condition. Like I walked through the inside. I called Brandon back because I didn't want to walk through the crawl space. I was like, Brandon, you want to go in the car? See, because me and Matt have to like actually crawl to get in the crawl space. Brandon can just stand up and walk through. So he does great on the crawl space.
Below average height.
Yeah. Oh man, but it's crazy. I mean, it had good bones.
Has good bones. Yes. It's an all brick house. Yes, the work that has been done, some of it's going to have to be redone in our ownership, but underneath looks solid. But yes, for some reason I'm always the guy to crawl underneath the houses. It's come
You're
out,
just so good at it.
all over me.
I don't want to get my nails dirty.
You're so good at it.
Send Matt and Jaron to look at a property. They come back. It's like, yeah, man, we're good. Go. I said, y'all go underneath it. Forget it.
No, and then Brandon's like, I'm going back. But it was actually pretty cool that Brandon got to go back because a lot of times when people are talking about real estate, it's just numbers. And people forget that there's a human aspect and emotional side to it. And so the guy, numbers-wise, is a great deal, okay? So we're buying a home for $40,000. It's going to rent for $8,000 to $850. I mean, that's ridiculous. Usually you're trying to hit the 1% rule, where if you're buying a house for $40,000, you want at least rents to be $400 per month. We're hitting the 2% rule or higher. So we're absolutely crushing on the number side. But the tenant in there is Section 8. She's battling cancer. She's lived there, I think, 27 years. And just as good humans, you don't really want to buy a house and have to boot those people out if you don't have to. And so one of our struggles when we were going through underwriting this deal was, how do we buy this and keep her there? And I thought it was cool running to a story of, like, when I went, she didn't want me there. She was mad when I rolled up because it was her brother-in-law who owns the property. She didn't want the brother-in-law to sell it. I roll up. She's like, don't you be coming back to my house now. I don't want you buying my house. And then I didn't look under the house, so we had to go back one more time. So then Brandon shows up, and, I think she kind of gives you a hard time too.
I pull up in the driveway, start walking up. She immediately comes outside on the porch, in the yard. What are you doing here? What you want? She's like, y'all ain't worked out a deal yet? They're like, well, no, ma'am. I'm just,
she told me she was interrogating you. She said he said he was with the guy who came before. And I said, well, what color truck did he drive? And she said she made you tell her, like, I drove a red truck. Tell her what I look like.
Yeah, I said, I don't. She's like, well, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, I don't know if some other company came. She's like, well, the first guy took them pictures. He crawled under the house. He took pictures of the inside. He took pictures of the crawl space. I was like, well, we don't have pictures of the crawl space, and that's what I'm here to do. I don't have to come in your house. I just need to crawl underneath it. So if you'll give me a few minutes of your time, 10 minutes, I'll be under there. I'll be on my way. And me and her got to talking, and she started, I just was polite and being friendly. And after I got done, I walked up, knocked on the door, let her know I was leaving. And she's like, well, it's bad under there. Back to, her not wanting to sell the house. Mm-hmm. She's like, kind of telling me a little bit about that. And you could tell there was some bad feelings about it, obviously. And, we just got to talking and talking about church and talking about her beliefs. And then she was telling me about her battle with cancer and that she just rung the bell.
That's awesome.
She just rung the bell. So praise God for that. And, that she had been there for 27 years. And it is a situation where we hate to kick somebody out. And, she's like, if y'all buy this place, what's going to happen to me? I only have 30 days to leave. And, I could tell she was stressed and worried. And, I ended up leaving and got Jaron on the phone, and me and him were talking about it and, trying to shorten this story up some. We ultimately said, what is it going to take to get her in here, to keep this tenant and not have to displace her? So I went back. I got done looking at another property. We talked about previously Seminole, the Trap House, right? Trap House.
We got some good updates on that one.
We got some updates on that one. But I was going over there to check that one out real quick. And then on my way back, I stopped back by there and just got to talking with her some more and said, hey, how do we make this work for us and for you? What is a number that you're comfortable with from like Jim was talking about with Section 8. So they have to pay a percentage of what's owed for Section 8. So it's, we were able to figure it out.
Yeah,
and
called the housing authority. They gave us a rundown, and you asked her, hey, how much can you pay?
How much can you
and
pay?
she gave us a high end number, and
That's
we
right.
think we're going to be maybe half of that number of what she can afford, which is
Yeah,
just
and we
amazing.
wanted to make it comfortable for her too. Like it's got to work for us, but
It's
it's
gotta
got
be a win-win.
Win-win for everybody. And she gets to stay there. She's not going to have to move. And when I told her, she's like, "You want to make it work for me?" When she's just the look in her eyes, and she started crying.
Yeah.
You know, she started crying and hugged me before we left, and then this week we were able to put it under contract.
Yeah,
And
literally
everybody's
20
gonna-
minutes before we got here today. And she was on the porch crying again today when,
Wow.
when we got the contract signed. And what's cool is the gentleman, Lewis, who's selling it to us, he's just a cool dude, really cool dude. I sat on the porch and talked to him for 30 minutes. And we get done. He signs the contract. I sign the contract. And he goes, hey, just want to let you know I got another property. I'd like to show it to you. I think you guys would like it. So now we're going to look at another property. And he said, if we can get that one done, I got another one.
Hey.
So we may end up getting 2 more properties, 3 total, from this one relationship while being able to help people. And this Lewis dude, I don't think this would be the last time I talk with him, whether we do more deals or not, just because he was so cool, you know, and you end up making these relationships that, you know, last forever. I mean, you still work with people, Matt, that you were doing real estate with, 5 years ago?
Yeah,
that you
I still
run
get
into?
phone calls all the time for stuff. So
Yeah, and I think he's happy to see her stay too, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
yeah, a lot of times in these deals, it's about finding the why and the how is what gets it done. Sometimes it's not the money; it's like working the arrangement.
Oh, no
So
doubt.
finding a way to keep her in there. He wanted 45 for the property, wound up getting it to 40,
Yep.
and we used keeping his sister-in-law there as a negotiation tactic.
And he could have got so much more. And he knows that.
Yeah.
There were he told me, he said, I got a couple other mailers. He said, but I saw that you live in Belton and the other one was some corporation. He said, I don't want to deal with them.
Yeah.
And so because we're local and because we were able to work with his sister-in-law, bro, he could, I mean, realistically, he probably could have sold that for $20,000 more if
Yeah,
he wanted
I was
to.
going to say
Yeah,
60.
I would
you
argue
know?
that. Same thing.
And he didn't. He wanted to be able to make it a win-win for us,
Yeah.
for him, and for his sister-in-law. And he said, I ain't hurting for money.
Yeah, a lot of times it's developing that relationship with the seller, and that there's been several houses that I bought when I worked for that company where they liked me over somebody else and were willing to take a little bit more less profit because they trusted me and, you know, liked me. So that
Yeah.
helps a lot.
Dude, all business is done on relationship and trust.
Yep.
I mean, literally. Yeah, at some point, like if you're dealing with, you know, I've sold to hospitals in the past. They got a procurement director. They're going to take whoever the cheapest bid is. Well, they end up getting screwed.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you're not dealing with the person who's going to take care of you throughout the process and after the deal's done, it's going to come back to bite you. So we've got a lot of updates on these properties that we originally talked about. I think the first couple times we got on here, we had bought Dove Hill.
Dove Hill,
We
Leah
bought
Way,
Leah Way, which we called the frat house.
Frat House,
We
Seminole,
bought Seminole, which is the trap house.
Yep.
We bought a piece of land.
Eccles,
And then
Creepy
Eccles,
Crawler.
Creepy Crawler.
Eccles House, yeah.
So give us an update, Matt, on where we are. Hit them with the trap house first, because that's
So Trap
pretty
House
cool.
is done, sold. We closed on that officially last Friday.
Last Friday.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm talking to one of my buddies that is a sergeant for the police department here locally, and he was like, man, when you posted that thing, I started looking into it, and we've had 75 calls to that in the last so many years. And he's like, the last one was an OD person that had unfortunately, I believe, perished because of overdose, and that was in October. And I started kind of scratching my head about it, and I was like, well, shoot, we closed on that thing in September. So somebody
snuck in when they shouldn't
like
have.
with that one, we went in and we did all the demo, and then the hurricane had hit,
Yep.
and we kind of had everything paused for a couple weeks. So I think when nobody was there and everything was kind of paused, they broke back in and had a
It was
terrible,
rough, dude.
yeah,
That
Oh, yeah,
house
y'all
was
seen the
rough,
pictures.
yeah.
We'll have to make sure to
We'll throw some more
post
up
the.
here.
yeah. I've got
the
some
afters.
great before and afters. It was probably one of the worst overall that we've done.
And maybe we can tag them on the video.
Yeah, we can throw them in here. What?
Yeah.
So we bought it. What was purchase, rehab? What we sell it for?
So purchase was 80. It was 80,000 with a $5,000 wholesale
Wholesale
fee,
fee.
and so we were like 87 all in with closing costs. Budget, we wound up having to put a new roof and a couple other things in, but we were like 99,000 for the budget,
Okay.
or is what not budget, but the final numbers for the
So it
renovation.
puts us at 186.
Yeah, and we wound up selling it full ask for 235, and we pocketed like just over 37,000 profit
Wow.
on it.
That's just a good. That's a
Good,
good deal
good,
right there, baby. Any of y'all take 37,000? Any listening? I like 37,000.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Hey, we went into that. No, like it wasn't. We didn't think it was going to be some big home run. But
Hey,
we
but
wanted
hold on.
10 grand.
We went into that,
at least.
Brandon thinking we were gonna lose money on that. Hey, and he still said, "What did he say the other day, man?" He said,
We got lucky.
We got lucky on
We
that."
did.
Deal. He hated the location, which it was. I mean, y'all saw the pictures. If you haven't, we'll put some up on the screen. It was awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we had it under contract 4 days.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
4 days.
first weekend under contract. Now, first person who looked at it put it under contract. We didn't have any other showings, by the way.
Brandon
There's a
still
flipped
thinks he
house
liked
beside
that.
it next door.
That
not
did
to our
awful,
caliber.
though.
Not to
They
our
did
caliber.
awful, man.
He actually
Still on
brought
the
us the
market.
house.
Still on the
Yeah,
market. He
that's
did. He
the
brought
guy
us the
that
house.
sold us the house.
Oh my gosh! But that's a great deal. I mean, 37K.
Dude, it's a house with a new roof, new HVAC, all new windows.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty much a brand new house.
Yeah.
Brick, carport, everything you need. New kitchen,
Yeah.
new appliances.
And you know what's interesting when you do something like that, and we're giving Brandon a hard time. Brandon has a very good point. The area was, I would call it a C area, which when you're flipping in a C area, like I don't mind buying rentals there, but when you're flipping there, you can end up sitting on a property for a long time. But I think one of the upsides is if you can accumulate enough properties in an area, which we talked about, hey, how can we get more? You kind of set those comps. And you can start turning an area around. And so houses where people are ODing in and people are, doing drugs in, you can clean it up and offer nice housing for a stand-up citizen, for a family, for a starter home, or whatever the case may be. I think, we've talked about this before. Real estate investors get such a bad rep. Oh, you're blowing up the market, you're making the market. It's like, no, we took a trap house, a literal trap house, and turned it into a nice living place where somebody's going to be able to go
Raise a family.
And this is when I was over there the other day when we were having some tree work done, and people were walking up talking to me about it, and the neighbors, and they were like, "Dude, we're so glad to see this thing done, to see that someone came in, showed the property some love, and we're going to have some owners who care about it in place." So even the workers who've been there have told me, "Oh, well, the other day somebody came up, they said they were just glad to see that something happening with the house."
Yeah.
Well,
You
and
know?
my guy that works for the police department, he was saying,
He
like,
was-
hopefully that's a sign of things to come in that neighborhood.
Yes.
It's starting to move on the up and up. And once other investors see that a property sold for what it sold, they're going to want to start buying.
Yep.
And it just drives the neighborhood in the right direction. So
Yeah, it's really cool, which is almost kind of the same thing we did at Eccles, Creepy Crawler House.
I think Eccles is the worst neighborhood.
But it's in a larger city. So
Yeah.
Seminole was in Anderson, South Carolina. Eccles was in Greenville. Greenville's one of the
Yeah.
fastest growing cities.
Yep.
Do you think that played a
Absolutely.
factor into us being able to
Yeah,
sell it?
that one we bought. What did we buy that one for? 80?
So we got that one. I actually just
86.
looked at it the other day. 86,000 and like $100.
Okay.
Is what we ended up paying for that one at closing after fees and everything. So that one, we got 86 in it. We'll have to show some before pictures of it. I think we've got some on the vids. We definitely have some after pictures to show
I've
you
got a bunch
what
of
that's going to look like.
before on it too.
And even, but this is another property that again went in, completely gutted the thing,
Yeah.
reconfigured some of the layout, new kitchen, new bathrooms, flooring, roof.
We added a 4th bedroom, bathroom, and,
another
a
bath.
legit laundry room.
So you got a 4-bedroom, 3-bath. Now, granted, it is only like a 1,200 square foot house,
Tiny.
but still in that price range for somebody to be able to get 4 bedrooms.
Yeah, we
it's
went
just
live
unheard
on
of.
that on a Sunday afternoon at the listing went at 235 is what we listed it at, and it was crazy. In all the years that I've been doing real estate, that was the hottest listing that I've ever had. We had a
crazy.
total of 36 showings booked. And
Well, we
with-
made it through what, 15?
and we
No,
made
they
it through 15
16,
and then
yeah.
cut them off because we had already had 9 offers on it. And you can only get so much for a property before it doesn't appraise out or whatever. And we wound up selling it for 11 over asking. 9 offers, 36 showings in 36 hours.
And
And
what's
te-
our profit on that?
That one will clear a little over 60 on. So
Well, and
It's crazy. Two properties in
That was
not the
one that-
greatest areas. We're at 100K.
Yeah, Brandon didn't want to do that one.
Yeah, Brandon. Hey, we got lucky on that one too.
man, we were gonna pass that one up. I said, let's do it.
Brandon funded that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, out of my HELOC. He used my money to fund it. It's great. Oh gosh, you did. You came through
Yeah,
the clutch share.
we weren't
You
gonna
found
do-
that one.
So the same? No, they
No,
called
the same
me.
wholesaler that
Same
sold a
guy who
Seminole.
sold a Seminole
Oh, it was homeboy. The guy who
Partner
was supposed to bring us a bunch of.
called me about that one. And,
Yeah, I went and looked at it.
And you were
initially.
like, you left because you.
Yeah,
heard
because I
things crawling
thought
in the
somebody was
ceiling.
in the attic. It's creepy going into some of these. I mean, the house has been abandoned for 3-4 years. It's in a not great area, and people break into them and move in. You get squatters all the time. If you've ever been in a house with a squatter, it'll freak you out quick. So heard some stuff. I'd gotten pretty much through my whole walkthrough, but took off out of there. Called a buddy as I called
remember
you.
you called- he
Yeah, I
didn't
called him
answer.
and he didn't answer. I was like, well, this is it.
Oh,
figure it out.
So we're at 100K profit on 2 lucky flips.
Yeah.
According to
I don't
me.
know about.
And then we
Yeah.
hit Leah Way, which Leah Way's the
Oh,
nicer one. And me and Brandon both skimmed over that. Matt sent it in our group text, and it was just listed so high, and it looked so nice from the exterior. I was just like, whatever. Well, it was listed at 350,
380.
380, drops to
380.
350. Then they drop it to 300. And Matt's like, bro, if we get this at 250, we can make around 30K. And so we shot our shot.
Yeah.
And they took it at 250. We ended up, I think, we're all in at 90K rehab.
Yeah,
And it wasn't a huge profit, but we made almost $30,000. And it was, what, a 6-week flip?
6 week.
Yeah, it was a 6-week in and out. I mean, we had that one. That one was the first of the 3 that we got under contract, but we all closed within like a week of the other 2 houses.
Yeah.
But we had that one bought, closed, renovated, listed, and closed before we even got done with any of the other ones.
It was
And I think we
quick.
made like,
I was right at
counting Thomas's
27.
money, like 35,000 was the total.
Yeah.
On that one, which for a 6-week, I'll take that any day of the week.
Dude,
and as
yeah.
easy
and
as it
we
was.
knew it was going to sell.
Yeah.
That was the thing. Like with these other ones, they were riskier, but the profit margin, especially on Eccles, which we didn't know was going to be that big because we had a bunch of people bidding up. But with Leah Way, it was in such a great neighborhood. It was in B plus A class neighborhood, and so it was like, yeah, profit margins ain't going to be as high, but we can just turn around. If you can turn around and make 30K in what we say
6 weeks.
6,
I mean,
but
2.5
close,
months by the time you
2.5
close.
months after
Yeah.
everything. Sign me up, especially
Solid.
in an area where you know you're going to be able to win. Dove Hill's been quite the project, and we knew it would be.
Yeah.
And y'all got hit with permits.
Yeah,
recently,
so
which
I
has
mean,
been
we
fun.
took the lid off of it.
We did. I
and
mean, you
then-
literally rebuilt the
Yeah,
house.
we basically took the whole second floor off, and then the hurricane came.
Yep.
And so it got wet on
Or
the
did
inside.
we not have the
It
top
was
off
on,
like the
but
day
it wasn't.
before?
It was off the day before, and they got it framed.
Because I
out.
remember texting you and be like, bro, there's no, like,
Yeah.
and you're like, no, we'll have it on by tomorrow before it hits. I'm like, there's no shot.
It was on.
And you did it.
Yeah,
you got
it was on, but it still got wet, and
Uh.
so we wound up having to take all the drywall out, and we got so deep into it, so we decided we're going to pull permits. So that has held us up a little bit.
And they want to charge us.
And-
Freaking arm and a leg.
Yeah, but I mean, it's going to be an amazing property when it's done. We just
So
got done
nice.
adding the deck to it.
Yeah, we've got the upper
Bro,
story.
we'll see if we can throw
completely-
pictures on here.
Yeah.
Yeah, the upper story is completely framed. All the hardy board siding's on, and it's the board and batten. And then the deck is probably finishing up this week
Well,
if it's not already done.
It was almost like a new build from the grading and everything.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
had to grade the entire front yard.
Oh yeah.
Hydro seed, you had to add.
Why did we have to do all that?
What is that? Brandon,
yeah,
wanna do
yeah.
it?
It was a wooded lot.
I
and
think
had
it was.
cleared.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was wood. I forgot about that.
Yeah, you
Completely
couldn't
wood,
see the house.
and then the guy comes and clears.
Yeah, there's
Everything.
I guess some
I think it was a good
miscommunication.
play, though.
But the dude,
It looks good now.
it does look good. I still think a big row of trees in the front, keeping the privacy, would have been awesome. But we wound up clearing a lot of trees,
forgot
and so
about
now
that.
there's this. It's a 5 acre, right at a 5 acre chunk of land, and now you've probably got a 3 acre lot. Would you say of cleared trees?
Of cleared trees, absolutely. Yeah.
So we had to have it like legit graded and then hydro seeded and all that. We went ahead and had it hydro seeded now, so there's grass by the time it does go
Yep.
live. But between that big deck and everything, the interior and paint on the exterior is all that's going to need to be done. So
Yeah, the final grade in the hydro seeding ran us another $9,000.
Yeah. So we bought it. Purchase price what?
$260.
We'll be all in at what?
I think we're going to spend $220 on that one.
Yeah.
So it puts us at $480.
Yeah.
And we're going to list it for, we're going to try to hit $7.
$657.
I don't know about-
Seven's going to
we'll
be
see.
pushing it, but
$650.
Well, Karen thought
reasonable.
$650 was pushing it originally.
Yeah.
Now she was
Now
the one
she's on
kind of
board.
saying like,
yeah.
Wow.
It's going to be a rare property.
so let's say we $650.
with it being on acreage, and we added another bedroom, a full another bathroom, and then we added a big area down in the basement. So like workout room or whatever you want to do. So it'll wind up, it was like 1,700 square foot, and I think it's like 24 to 2,500 square
Dude,
foot.
it's going to, I think
Yeah.
it's not going to be quite like Eccles. One thing we've noticed, at least in our market, is if we're staying below 300K, you got a huge pool of buyers. Here where we live, when you start getting in the 600s, you just don't have quite the pool. But in this particular property, it's not going to be quite like Eccles, but I think it's going to be a bidding war.
Yeah,
to-
the
to
biggest
an
thing with
extent.
this is the 5 acres that
Yeah.
it comes with, and it's under $1 million. So
In a great
in a
location.
great location in between Easley and Greenville.
Yep.
So I fingers crossed, but I feel like it's going to sell quick.
I'm excited
for a lot
about
of
that
money.
one.
Yeah, so I think we should clear over 100 on that one.
And we're doing pretty good.
Yeah. Our land is sitting. We hadn't started
Haven't
doing
done
anything
anything.
with that yet. That's just kind of been on the back burner.
The duplex.
Yeah, so
Yep,
one
we
of the
did.
things that's been working for us, so we've tried a lot of different marketing. We were just talking about this in the other room before we started the podcast about how we spent or wasted a good chunk of change on pay-per-click, on having cold callers. And right now, what is humming for us is just simple mailers, is literally sending mail to people. That, and I would say a little bit of cold calling, not a lot. I'm talking about driving around, seeing a vacant home, and dialing the person who owns the property, not mass cold calling. So mailers, a little bit of cold calling, and networking. Right, we got
Networking.
sent that property that we're hoping we can track down on Laurel.
Yeah.
Through somebody that I knew, and but I really want to focus on mailers. I would encourage anybody listening to this. I kind of thought snail mail was done. It's not. So, for example, we had been averaging, just call it $1,000 a month. We didn't start at that amount, but just say we're averaging $1,000. Maybe we're at $1,200 a month that we're spending in mailers. Okay, somewhere in that ballpark. It may have jumped up since, but at the time when I looked, it was like $2,000. And so that's $12,000 a year. Just call it easy math. We just bought a duplex from a mailer from another investor who lives in California who wanted to get rid of his property. He sold us this property for $87,000. We're going to have to put $12,000 in it, so we're all in at $100,000, and the ARV is immediately $160,000. So after fees, we've got a what am I trying to say? Equity of call it $45,000 to $50,000 in that house. Mm-hmm. That's off of one mailer.
And the rent.
Oh yeah, not even counting cash flow or
Yeah.
any of that, because we bought it. Yeah, we're gonna have a note of $100,000, and it's gonna rent for $1,500 a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't even count rent. I'm just calling it straight equity. I'm saying we're spending, call it $12,000 a year in mailers. Well, that one deal gave us $45,000 in equity plus what we say $300 a month in cash flow. Is that fair? $400
Oh, yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
right? And so that's one deal. Well, then this deal right here that we just signed before this came from a mailer. Sent it to the guy. The guy called me. We bought it for $40,000. We think it's already, as it sits today, worth $60,000. And then we're going to be making our cash on cash return on this is going to be, I would imagine is probably 25% or more.
Yeah.
I really think so when it all shakes out. And so you look at these deals off mailers and say, oh, I don't really want to spend $1,000 a month. I understand everybody can't spend that much. Drop it to what you can. But you hit one deal that just unlocks a ton for your marketing, And so I'm a believer. I'm a fan, because one thing I found with pay-per-click is there was so much competition.
Yeah.
Like when you're running Google ads, somebody was filling out a form. Like when you run Google ads, somebody will fill out a form, saying, giving information about their property, saying they want to sell, telling you to call them. Well, they were filling out 10 companies' forms. And so you were competing against these people. And what we found where our price point needed to be, people were paying like 25% higher than we were. I don't know how they're making those deals work. A lot of these wholesalers aren't able to turn stuff. They're not turning stuff over. And so mailers
Part
been
of it
good.
is when we flip a house, we do it.
You do it right.
Do it right.
And that's why
They sell
bidding
real
wars.
quick. Yep. So we want to do everything, if we can. And so sometimes the numbers don't work for us because we want to do everything.
Yeah.
So
And also, that's something me and Matt decided early on when our partnership initially was it was like sometimes like we're missing out on some deals because we might could do less and sell it for less.
Yep.
But is that what we want to do? You know, and ultimately we're like, look, man, if we can't do it the way we want to do it, the way we know it's going to sell and sell fast, if the numbers don't work, they don't work. We're just going to move on.
Yeah, our realtor gets somewhat aggravated with us, but she's also excited over it. She's like, you don't have to do all that, but then we do, and then it sells
And
quick.
then it sells
and
quick
it
for
makes
her.
her look good. So
Yeah. No, we got a great thing going, and having that lead gen coming in, you know, we use Deal Machine, and I was doing it last night. You can literally, so Eccles, where we bought the property, we're like, dude, we need to buy that entire area. Like, you know, one rule in real estate is when you find an area where you do a strong flip that pays you a lot of money, go buy more in that area because you know what's, you know, going to happen. And so we, you know, our little software, I figured out how I can draw literally like a circle or whatever of an area I want and then start mail to all those people. Right. And I build out my list strategically. I don't just mail to everybody there. That would be a lot of money. You could find 3,000 houses. Well, now you're paying 70 cents per mailer. That starts to get expensive. But we, you know, maybe we'll nail it down to, you know, vacant homes or homes owned by LLC owners who live out of state, or owner occupied people who have owned their home 5+ years and have a little bit of equity. And just attacking that over and over. And it takes, what is the average, 7 touches of mail before you get a contact?
they say the third mailer is where they start noticing it.
They start,
Yeah.
every one of them, the duplex and the one that we just did today,
Yeah.
I went and looked on Deal Machine. It was our third mailer.
How about that?
Yeah.
Third mailer.
So
Wow.
it does take I mean, you think about it, like you get those the car lot scratchers. I got one the other day. I always look at them now because I'm like, well, what works?
What works?
You know, and it's like you literally get like this fake lottery ticket thing that you scratch off, and it's like $500 off a car. You know, so. But it's got me scratching it off. You know what I mean? So maybe we need to look into scratchers.
Yeah, if anybody has scratchers, let us know. But no, we're always looking for deals, and I'd say anybody listening to this who wants to bring us deals, send them our way. Send them to
100%.
We incentivize with cash for any deal we close.
Yes.
So,
Send it to support@financecowboy.com. Support@financecowboy.com. We will pay you handsomely to send us a deal. We're always looking. We're trying to do as many deals as we possibly can.
And you know, one thing back to this deal with the 40 grand earlier, you mentioned about the 1% rule. You know, so something, a bit of educational piece for people. Now, me and Matt were talking about that 1% rule the other day, about how difficult it is to find properties that work now with interest rates being as high as they are, that work for the 1% rule.
if you're going to burr it.
If you're going to burr it, yes. And so Matt had an interesting philosophy on that, and it's a pretty good plan, in my opinion,
Basically,
on what we should look at.
I think the 1% rule is now 1.3% rule, but any interest point over 3%, you add another 0.1% to it. So if it's a 6% interest rate, it needs to be a 1.6% property.
Yeah.
And that kind of evens it up.
I like that. Yeah, because 1% is not working.
It just ain't
No,
working.
there's no way to make
No,
it work.
it's
Now,
not.
if interest rates were 2.5%, then it works.
Even at 4.5%, they were. Now home prices are higher,
Yeah.
you know, than they were. But you know, it's an interesting time in the market. This is me personally. I talked a lot about this on my personal show. I think that the next 2 years are very opportune times to get real estate at pretty decent deals. We're seeing it because it's kind of stagnant right now. Like home prices are coming down and rates aren't coming down fast enough, right? And so if you're able to go find these deals like we are off market, you're going to win in the long run, because at some point these rates are going to come back down.
Oh, yeah.
And you got to think, you got a whole generation of people, maybe not quite a generation, but that bought starter homes at 3% rates.
Yeah.
And so they're just sitting there, but they're sick of being in those homes. They do not want to be there anymore.
Yeah.
And so if they can find a rate that they can justify, 5.5, 5, there is going to start being movement again in the market. And the real estate, you can look at any graph, over time is going to go back up.
Yep.
And so right now, it's not going up. So what does that mean? It means you should buy. So everybody listening to this, we're buying, we're practicing what we preach. Right now, you guys should be buying. And then you look at the baby boomers. They're supposed to sell 9.2 million homes in the next 8 to 9 years.
Yeah.
Bro, that's the That's the homes you're looking to buy.
How many homes a week do you think we look at?
Oh,
Like 10, 5, 10,
Yeah.
somewhere in there?
probably.
Yeah, but it takes 5 to 10 to buy one.
Yeah, I told
So-
people, analyze a deal a day, right? And that's not even going and seeing it. But if you're just analyzing a deal a day and you make one offer per week, which we make way more than one offer
Yeah.
per week, then I think the numbers even out to one deal per quarter.
And don't be afraid to make the low offer.
Yeah,
Because that's how you get them, period.
yeah.
You know? So if you don't make it, you don't get it. And sometimes they'll come back with a number slightly higher that's still a doable deal. So, I mean, the duplex is a good example of that. Because what did he originally ask for that? Like,
I mean, he wanted closer to 100.
yeah.
And I was like, we got to be at, what was it, 85 or 82 or something we offered. And then he countered at 90. I was like, let's meet in the middle or whatever the
Yeah.
case was. Or maybe we met at 90 and then we knocked money off
For that leaky
flooring.
faucet
So whatever it
stuff.
was, maybe I offered 80. He said 100.
Yeah.
And then we ran our numbers at 90 and it made sense. And then we found out there was an issue with some subflooring. So we knocked that off.
Yeah.
But yeah, we shot our shot. You just had Leah Way is a perfect example. What you
Yeah.
did with Leah Way, I mean, you carried that thing. I mean, you watched it, dropped to 300, and you still offered $50,000 less
Than what he was
was
it's
asking.
from 380 to 250, but when I made my 250 offer, it was at 300. So yeah, if you don't ask, you don't get it.
Yeah.
And our realtor sometimes gets aggravated with us because she already knows what we want to be at, but I'm
Yeah.
like, offer it.
Yeah, we got. I mean, you got to shoot your shot. We were at a property yesterday. Was that yesterday that we walked, and they are asking 145, but we knew they had it under contract with somebody else for like 110, but it wasn't going through. It was about to come back out of contract. We need to be at 75.
Yeah.
So I shot the realtor a text. I was like, we're going to be at 75. And she's like, well, they're not going to take that. I was like, oh, that's fine. Just want to let you know we're
Yeah.
going to be at 75. And so we'll just watch it. You know, we'll see what happens over time.
The fixer-uppers aren't moving on the market right now, and that's one
Yeah,
of the
that are
key
listed.
things.
That's a
And
good
so
point.
if you've got time to dig through Zillow and find something that's got 30, 60, 90 days of, being on the market, make the low offer on it. Find out what it's going to take to fix it. We typically will do the 70% rule, and we make our offer based off that. And we might bend it a little bit to get the deal, but
Yep.
if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But if you don't ask, you don't get it.
That's a good point. Those fixture uppers are not selling.
Yeah.
No.
If they're not renovated, they are sitting on the market. That's what that 2-2S sent y'all close to Boulevard Church the other day. It's been on for almost 300 days, just
Yeah.
sitting there. It needs work. So yeah, and there's been the least amount of movement in the market since 1995 and 2024. Less transactions in 2024 than the Great Recession, which is insane to me.
Yeah.
Which is a good time for us to buy. It's like
Pretty
Warren
much.
Buffett says, when others are fearful, get greedy. I don't like the word greed, so don't be greedy. I think that's sinful. But what he's trying to say is go get the good deals, right? Because there's less people who are doing it right now. So
Yep. Well, hey, those are some updates from our end. Hopefully, we'll have some more for you soon. And while we're making plenty of offers and trying to buy stuff. Unfortunately, the last few things have been stuff that we plan to keep, though.
yeah,
We're going to be renting these properties, but we'll keep on and we'll have more flips coming. I mean,
I'm
that's why
just
we're
glad
dads
that
flipping
I'm
houses.
rubbing off on these guys because they never would keep anything in the portfolio. And I'm like, guys, let's just look at these numbers. Let's just add them to the portfolio. So
That one
I've
you
got
just
three
locked up. I was
three
like,
doors.
listen, we got a 2% deal. We're not
We
walking
have
from
to-
this. We have to keep it.
What was one on Eccles we could have if we wanted
Yeah.
to. We could have.
Yeah.
I'm glad we sold it now.
Yeah.
We made a buck
Yeah.
off that. But that was a deal that we.
Yeah,
well,
Eccles
I don't know.
paid
Did you
for-
say that we ended up having to do more work than we thought? Maybe
We did, yeah.
Okay.
But Eccles, the profit from Eccles paid for this one.
Oh yeah,
And
Yeah.
then we have money left over.
Yeah.
So
crazy stuff, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Send us all the deals you got. Support at financecowboy.com. Don't be asking ridiculous prices because we're not going to pay them. We'll see you next week.